Hello. Well, welcome to the True Crime Lounge. This is the podcast to my YouTube channel. And before I continue, when I say the name Dennis Rader, what do you automatically think of? I hope you think of the BTK Killer, because this case is one of 10 cases that we will discuss this season. On the first season, we discussed cases that changed the law. This past season, we discussed criminals of the Wild West. This season, our theme will be, oh, the irony. And why is it called Oh, the Irony? Well, I will tell you why. We're going to be talking about the ironic ways serial killers get caught or they get killed. So, yeah. So this, like I said earlier, this is the podcast to my channel, True Crime Lounge. I also have an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page that you can go check out. There is a merch shop that you can go check out. Help a girl out. I know Christmas is coming up or whatever is coming up. This is a pre-recorded episode, so just a heads up. I also have a Patreon that you can help support as well. You don't have to, but it's an option. Now, let's grab whatever our drink of choice is and jump into the True Crime Lounge. How many of you know the meme, that, hey, how can, if I submit this floppy disk, will it reveal who I am? And they're like, no, right? Well, meet the person behind the meme. This is the first episode of season 3. We're going to be talking about one of the most ironic ways to get caught. Um, if you know, for a serial killer, you figured he would have been smart about getting caught, right? Well, who exactly is the BTK killer? Well, he was born Dennis Lynn Rader and on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And from 1971 to 2005, he was married to Paula Dietes. Dietes? I think that's how you pronounce it. In which he had two children, Carrie and Brian. He was the oldest of four boys. He also enjoyed had a seemingly normal childhood. So during his seemingly normal childhood, it was reported that he mastered the disturbing behavior of hanging stray animals. Which is how most serial killers start, right? Just saying. Ooh, just saying. Look at Dahmer and all of that. Anyway, he dropped out of college to join the Air Force in the mid 1960s and returning to Wichita, he began working as an outdoor company supply company for a year. Then in 1974 he began a lengthy stint as an employee at ADT Security Service. In 2019, his daughter ended up writing a book, and it's called The Serial Killer's Daughter: My Story for Hope, Love, and Overcoming. In this book, she discusses how she learned about her dad's criminal past and how he criminal ways and how she overcame the horror associated with them. So, Radar, he was born. So, Radar killed 10 people in Sedgwick County and between 1974 and 1991. He is known as the BTK Killer, or which stands for bind, torture, and describes his MO. So, he sent boastful letters describing the details of the killings to the police and the local news outlets during the period of time in which the murders took place. After a long hiatus from the 90s, he resumed sending letters in 2004, leading to his arrest in 2005. Before I go any further, okay, so most of y'all know I am in college. I'm working on my bachelor's, political science. Good Lord willing. Anyway, okay, I was driving back to my apartment one day, and I saw this tag that said BKT, with the initials, because I live in Tennessee, and basically in the state of Tennessee, you get this option where, if you get the letters in the front, then you don't have to worry about the whole "in God we trust" thing. And then if you do letters in the back, you got the one "in God we trust." But anyway, irrelevant to the story. But anyway, when I saw the tag, it said BKT. It was the first three letters. And I almost said no, BTK. And I really thought it said BTK. I was so excited when I saw that. I was like, that's how you know you love true crime right there. Like, come on now, right? Anyway, off the side note, um, so in January 15, 1974, he would have four victims of the Otero family. Joseph Otero, Otero's Julie Otero, the his son, there's the Otero's son, Joseph Otero II, and the daughter, Josephine Otero. Guess he really liked the name Joseph, right? April 4, 1974, his victim would be Catherine Bright. March 17, 1977, Shirley Van. December 8, 1977, Nancy Fox. April 27, 1985, Maureen Hedge. And September 16, 1986, Vicky Wargle. January 19, 1991, Dolores Davis. And here's part of his MO was he collected items from each scene of the murders that he committed, and reportedly he had no items that related to any other killing. He did have other intended victims, notably as Anna Williams, 63, who in 1971 escaped death by returning home later than expected. So, Rader explained during his confession that he had been obsessed with Williams and was absolutely livid when she evaded him. Rader also spent hours in her home became impatient and left when she did not return home from visiting friends. So, Rader has stalked two women in the 1980s, one in the mid 1990s, and they filed a restraining order against him. And he admitted in the interrogation that he was planning to kill again. He even said that October 2004, and he was stalking his intended victim. What do we know about this guy really, though? Right? Well, he was the oldest of four, to William Alvin Rader and Dorothea May Cook. Dorothea. That's a Taylor Swift song. Anyway. Um, Though he was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas, he grew up in Wichita. He attended Riverview School, and later graduated from Wichita Heights High School. He he was confirmed into the Zion Lutheran Church. According to several reports, including his own confessions, as a child he tortured animals, and in one of the warning signs in the McDonald trial, he also harbored a sexual fetish for women's underwear. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He would later steal panties from his victims and wear them himself. That's just sick, right there. He would. He attended Kansas Wesleyan University from 1965 to 1966, and from 1966 to 1970. He was in the Air Force station in Texas, Alabama, Okinawa, South Korea, Greece, and Turkey. Wait, I used to live in Alabama. I wonder where he was stationed in Alabama. Not that I want to go to it specifically. Anyway, he would return to the U.S. When he returned to the U.S., he moved to Park City, a suburb 7 miles north of Wichita, and he worked there in the department of Leaker's IGA supermarket alongside with his mom, a bookkeeper of the store. He attended Butler County Community College in El Dorado, earning his associates in electronics in 1973. He enrolled at Wichita State University at that same fall, and he graduated there in 1979 with a bachelor's degree in administration of justice. He would marry Paula Deities on May 22nd, 1971. So, from 1972 to 1973, he worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company, Camping Up Gear Farm, and he had two of his early victims. He then worked a short time in Sesama in 1973, and from November 1974 until being fired July 1988, Radar worked in a Wichita-based office of ADT's security service. And he held several positions, including installation manager, and he was believed to learn how to defeat home security systems while there. So Radar was a census field operations supervisor for Wichita areas in 1989 prior to 1990 federal census. And my nose itches. I know that's kind of irrelevant at this point, but I'm just saying. Um, in 1991, he was hired as a supervisor for a compliance department at Park City, a two-employee multifunctional department in charge of animal control, house problem zoning, general profit, general permit enforcement, and a variety of nuisance cases. In this position, neighbors would recall him as sometimes overzealous, extremely strict, and one neighbor complained he euthanized her dog for no reason. On March 2nd, 2005, the Park City terminated Radar's employment for failure to report to work or to call in, and he was arrested for murders 5 days later. For the murders 5 days later. He served on both the Cedric County Board of Zoning Appeals and the Animal Control Advisory Board. He was appointed in 1996 and resigned in 1998. He was also a member of Christ Lutheran Church, a Lutheran congregation of about 200 people, near his former high school. He had also been a member for about 30 years and been elected president of the Congregation Council. He was also a Cub Scout leader. He soon became an Eagle Scout, and on July 27, 2005, after his arrest, the district judge, Eric Yost, waived his usual 60-day waiting period and granted immediate divorce for his wife, agreeing that her mental health was in danger. Radar did not contest the divorce, and the 33 years marriage was ended. Paula Radar said the divorce petition that her mental and physical condition had adversely been affected by the marriage. So, he was particularly known for sending taunting letters to police and newspapers. There were several communications from BTK from 1974 to 1979. The first of his letters had been stashed in an engineering book in the Wichita Public Library, October 1974. This described the details of the Otero family killing in January of that year. In the early 1978, he sent another letter to television station KAKE in Wichita claiming he had responsibility for the murders of the Oteros. Shirley Van, Nancy Fox, and an unidentified victim, assumed to be Catherine Bright. He suggested a number of possible names, including one that stuck, the BTK. He demanded media attention. In the second letter, it was finally announced that Wichita did indeed have a serial killer at large. In a poem enclosed, "Oh, Death to Nancy," a botched version of the lyrics of the American folk song "Oh, Death." In 1979, he sent two identical packages, one to the intended victim who was not home when he broke into her house, and the other to KAKE. These features another poem, "Oh Anna, Why Didn't You Appear?" a drawing of what he intended to do with his victim, as well as some items he had pilfered while at Williams' house. So apparently, he had waited several hours in the home of Anna Williams, but left when she did not come home until later. In 1988, after the murders of three members of the Fager family, in which a letter received from someone claiming to be BTK Killer, in which he denied the perpetrator of the crime, he did credit the killer for having done admirable work. Yes, I said that. It was not proven until 2005 that the letter was in fact written by a genuine BTK killer, and although he had not been considered by police to have committed the crimes. In March 2004, a series of 11 communications from BTK to local media led directly to his arrest, February 2005. The Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone using the return address to Bill Kilman. The author of the letter claimed that he had murdered Vicky Wargle September 16, 1986, and enclosed photographs of the crime scene and a photocopy of her driver's license, in which he had stolen from her house at the time of the crime. Prior to this, it had definitely been established in the Wargle that the killer was BTK. In May 2004, a word puzzle was raised by KAKE, and on June 9, 2004, a package was found at a stop sign at a corner of First and Kansas in Wichita, and containing graphic details of Tara murder, and a sketch labeled "The Sexual Thrill Is My Bill." Also enclosed is a chapter list of a proposed book of the BTK Killer, which mimicked a story written in 1999 by Court TV, which is now True TV, with crime writer David Lohr. And chapter 1 was entitled "A Serial Killer is Born." This guy's just messed up right here. In July, a package was dropped off and returned at the downtown public library containing a bizarre material, including a claim that was responsible for the death of 19-year-old Jake Allen in Argonia, Kansas earlier that month. And this claim was said to be false, and the death had been ruled a suicide. In October 2004, a manila envelope was dropped off as a UPS box in Wichita, containing a series of cards and images of terror and bondage of children posted on them. Also included was a poem written threatening the life of the lead investigator, the lieutenant, and false autobiography containing many details about Radar's life. These details were released to the public. In 2004, the police received another package from the BTK Killer. This time the package was from the Wichita Murdoch Park, and it contained the driver's license of Nancy Fox, for each noted as a stolen item of the crime scene, as well as the doll that was symbolically bound at the hands of the feet. In January 2005, he attempted to leave a cereal box in the bed of a pickup truck at Home Depot, but the box was first discarded by the owner. It was later retrieved in the trash after Rader himself asked if what had become of the later message. Surveillance tapes of the parking lot had the dates revealed and a distant figure driving a black Jeep Cherokee leaving the scene. In February, more postcards were sent to KAKE, and another cereal box left in a rural location contained another bound doll. Apparently, it was meant to symbolize the murder of 11-year-old Josephine Otero. In his letters, Rader asked his writings if a floppy disk could be traced. The police answered his question in a newspaper and posted in the Wichita Eagle saying it would be okay to use the disk. That's where his mess up came, right? Yep, that's just the irony in that. So, on February 16, 2005, he sent a floppy disk to Fox TV station KSAS in Wichita. And forensics analysis quickly determined that the disk had been used by Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita, as well as reference the name Dennis, as the internet search determined Dennis Rader, and was the president of the church council, who was arrested February 25th. His last known communication with the media and the police was a padded envelope, which arrived at Fox affiliate KSAS TV. And on February 16, 2005, a purple 1.44 megabytes Memorex floppy disk enclosed the package, also enclosed with a letter, a photo cover of the 1989 novel about a serial killer, Rules of Prey, and a gold cover necklace with a large meditation medallion. Police found metadata embedded in a deleted Microsoft document that was unbeknownst to Radar, still on the disk. And the metadata recovered using the forensic software in case contained Christ Lutheran Church, and the document was marked as last modified by Dennis. A search of the church website turned up, and Dennis Radar is the president of the Congregation Council. They began to surveillance Radar. Sometimes during the period, police obtained a warrant for the medical records of Radar's daughter. A tissue sample seized at the time was tested for DNA and provided a familiar match with semen collected at an earlier BTK crime stop. This, alongside evidence gathered prior to during the surveillance, gave police probable cause for an arrest. He was stopped driving near his home, taken into custody shortly after. Immediately after, the law enforcement official, including the police bombs unit truck, 2 SWAT trucks, and KBI, FBI, and ATF agents, converged on Rader's residence near the intersection of I-135 and 61st North Street. Once in handcuffs, he was asked by an officer, "Mr. Rader, do you know why you're going downtown?" To which he replies, "Oh, I have my suspicions why." Yeah, guilty. They would search his home and vehicle and collect evidence, including some computer equipment, a pair of black pantyhose retrieving from a shed in a cylindrical container, the church he attended, the office at the City Hall, and the main street of the Park City Library main branch were also searched that day, and officers were seen removing a computer from his City Hall office, but it was unclear if any evidence was found at these locations. So, after his arrest, he talked to police for several hours. He started to resurface the 2004 for various reasons, including David Lohr's feature story on the case for the release of the Book of Nightmares in Wichita and the manhunt of the BTK Strangler. He wanted the opportunity to tell his story in his own way. He was also bored because his children had grown up and had more time on his hands. In February 26, the police department announced in a press conference they were holding Radar, the prime suspect in the BTK killings, and was formally charged with the murders, February 28, 2005. Kansas reinstated the death penalty in 1994, and the last known BTK killing was in 1991, making it all known BTK was ineligible for a death penalty. If only they had reinstated it sooner, right? Yeah. So, even if the murders linked to the BTK killer, it was originally unclear whether a death penalty would come into play. As the Kansas Supreme Courts declared the state's capital punishment law unconstitutional on December 17, 2004, the ruling was the Kansas Supreme Court, however, was reversed by the U.S. Supreme Court on June 26, 2006. In the case Kansas v. Marsh, and the Kansas death penalty statute was upheld. So, and that Sunday, after his arrest, the Associated Press cited anonymous sources that Radar had confessed to other murders in addition to the ones in which he had already connected. So, when asked about the reported confessions, the DA Nola Fulston will go on to say, "Your information is patently false," but she refused to say whether Radar had made any confessions or whether investigators looked into it. On March 5th, news sources claimed that to have verified the multiple sources that Radar had confessed to 10 murders and to be charged with no additional ones. On February 28, 2005, he was formally charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder, and he found his first appearance via video conference. He was represented by a public defender. Bail was continued at $10 million. On May 3rd, the judge, Gregory Waller, entered a not guilty plea to the 10-count charges on Rader's behalf. As Rader did not speak at his arraignment on June 27, the scheduled trial date, Rader changed his plea to guilty and unemotionally described the murders in detail with no apologies. Obviously, I'm not going to describe them, just because I know families are still grieving about that. On August 18th, Rader faced his sentencing, and the victims' families made statements followed by Rader, who apologized for his crime. It wasn't a real apology, we know that, right? Yeah. He was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences and required a minimum of 175 years without a chance of parole. Because Kansas had no death penalty at the time of the murders committed, life imprisonment was the maximum penalty allowed by the state. On August 19th, Rader was moved from Sebrick County Jail to El Dorado Correctional Facility to begin serving his life sentence, with his earliest possible release date February 26, 2180. Yeah, he's already gone. That ain't happening, right? So, in further investigation, several surrounding cities were looking into unsolved cases during and after 1974 and 1991, in corroboration by the state police and FBI. Moreover, police in the surrounding states in Oklahoma are investigating cold cases of Rader's pattern. But, yeah. Alright, that is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day. And please, like, subscribe, join my Patreon if you want to receive early access. And y'all have a great day.